Okay, next speaker, Steve Perkins. I've known Steve for quite a long time. Now an executive coach, but for a long time the chief executive of the British Occupational Hygiene Society. Steve is ridiculously passionate about the issue of health, well-being, mental health. Steve Perkins.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Tim, for your introduction. I am delighted to be able to speak here today, and I am passionate about health and well-being. And basically, what I want us to do for the next 20 minutes is look at what, in going home safe and well, what well really means. So, let's start with an exercise. Don't worry, this is not going to be cringy. You're not going to be embarrassed doing this, but would you all stand? What we're going to do is we're going to focus on breathing just for a moment, and we're simply going to do some diaphragmatic breathing. So that's basically breathing in through your nose, not your mouth, into your belly, feeling it expand. So why don't you just do that now? Take a deep breath in, feel your belly expand, let it out nice and slow. Okay, do it again. It's good, isn't it? You just calm down a little, it just settles you a little. Do you want to sit down? That's got psychological benefits when you do that as part of mindfulness, but it's also got physiological benefits. If you're having trouble getting to sleep at night, people say do 7 or 8 of those, and when you hold it and then breathe out, take longer breathing out than you breathe in for. And I tell you, it does. It sends you off to sleep. It's great. I shouldn't have told you to sit down, but it's all good exercise, so we stand up again. So you've got all those good benefits of breathing, but what happens when breathing goes wrong? Okay, what we're going to try and do is simulate that now. So I'm going to ask you to basically take a deep, don't do this, take a deep breath in, hold it. I'll ask you to take a second breath in on top of that, hold it, and then try and take a third breath in on top of that, hold it, and breathe out. So you know what's coming, okay? If you're asthmatic or you have breathing difficulties, please don't tell this. Right, but for most of us it will be perfectly fine. So here we go. Okay, take a breath in, hold it, take a second breath in, hold it, try and take that third breath. Let it out. Yeah, so what did that feel like, trying to take that third breath? It was like a tightness in the throat. You weren't really doing it from down here, were you? It was from up here. That's a very crude simulation of what it's like if you've got COPD or lung cancer and you're fighting for your breath. And I want you to remember that feeling this morning. So let's just do it again. Okay, taking a deep breath, hold it, take a second one, hold it, try and take a third one, let it out. Gonna make you work, sit down, that's great. That little photograph at the bottom is an ultrastructure photo of the deep lung. Professor David Fishwick at HSE's HSL Labs, he's their Chief Medical Officer, says, the membrane here is 1 micron thick. If you had a piece of kit with a 1 micron thick membrane, you would be very willing to pay a maintenance contract to maintain it. Why is it any different with our lungs? We've only got 2. You see, in the UK we talk about health and safety, but the truth is, for decades, what we've really meant is just safety. It's all a big scam. We say health and safety, and we mean safety 99% of the time. And actually, the UK has done a fantastic job on safety. And we are rightly recognised globally for that. HSL keep these lovely morbid statistics of how many deaths there have been over the last 100 years. And there's a lovely chart. It starts at 5,000 deaths per year due to accidents amongst workers 100 years ago. And it's just come gradually down and down. And it's now under 150 a year. That's still 150 too many. But it's an achievement we should be proud of. Something the Daily Mail isn't aware of. The experts say about half the reduction is due to a move to a service economy and technological improvements, but the other half is due to the great work done by regulated businesses, unions and health and safety professionals over the years. Now, do not misunderstand anything else I'm about to say. I do not believe safety is sorted. We cannot take our eye off that ball, and I coach leaders globally and multinationals on exactly that thing. However, in the UK today, total work-related deaths stand at least 13,000 per year. So that means 1% of all those deaths are due to accidents. That's the 150. 99% are basically due to non-communicable diseases caused entirely by work. This is the UK. This is the non-developed economy we're talking about. This is the current cost, real cost of business. Some 12,000 of those 13,000 are lung-related things, COPD, cancers, to do with the lung. So remember that tight feeling in your throat? That's how 12,000 workers struggle for their last breath every year and then fail to take it. Now, there will be many more deaths attributable to non-work related factors, health factors like diabetes and smoking, where exposures in the workplace played a part. But I can tell you, those are not included in HSE's figures. These are HSE's stats. Just go to their website. It's all there, it just hasn't been publicised for decades. Of course, there's also a bigger picture of morbidity, not just mortality. I'm sure you know the UK loses 31 million working days every year due to work-related sickness absence. Did you know 26.7 million of those are down to health? That's 86% down to health, not safety. The annual cost to the economy of the total of that is 15 billion. They estimate 10 billion of that is down to health. And that 10 billion doesn't even include the cost of long latency diseases, which will take it into much bigger figures. So, what about the construction industry's part in all this ill health, disease and death? It's all very exciting. It's all very positive stuff to start with, isn't it? Well, I'm sure you know, it's not good. Annually, 3,500 construction workers die from work-related cancer. That's not just cancer, that's work-related cancer. And then there are another 5,500 new cases every year of work-related cancer. This is not granddad's disease, this is now. At any one time, there are 80,000 construction workers with work-related ill health, and actually that's a number that's been rising if you go back through HSE's annual stats reports. In an industry where recruitment and retention are becoming increasingly challenging, this is not a good picture economically, never mind morally. Now, we say health and safety is a priority, but for so long, what we've made is safety as a priority. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it, okay? During my time at DOHS, I was privileged to visit some major sites in different industries. So I went down the Crossrail tunnels at Farringdon when they were in the construction phase. I've walked the production line at Burniston for Toyota right from the start to the end. I've climbed all over a BP chemical works in Coma site on the Humber estuary. For an ex-scientist, I was a physicist once. It's just fantastic. I'm a real geek, basically, for that sort of stuff. And I know at every turn there were safety hazards that could maim or kill me. It was literally the safety risks were in your face. And that's one of the things. Safety hazards are so much more obvious and visible to the ordinary person than health. Safety risks are an ever-present factor, and if something goes wrong, accidents have immediate consequences, as Mark was just talking about, his friend Howard. We worry about HSE notices, investigations, negligence, reputation, corporate manslaughter. The stakes are high with safety. Now, having said that, we also know there are many hazardous exposures in construction and maintenance of highways. I'll list a few. Respirable crystalline silica that causes silicosis, lung cancer and COPD. Well, you can't get rid of silica. It's in all building products. And you'll have so many processes, you're going to be putting it into the air. Welding fumes from steel's work causes pneumonia, asthma and cancers. Isocyanates in VOCs and solvent fumes cause asthma, dermatitis, bronchitis and pneumonitis. Then, of course, you've got bitumen. Wow, bitumen. What a product. It does an amazing thing on the road, but it does horrendous things to your lungs, causing respiratory diseases and a range of cancers. The list goes on. You've got solar radiation, diesel exhaust particulate, excessive noise and vibration. It's a picture of quite a toxic mix, really. So why has health been the Cinderella to safety? Well, we've already seen these safety hazards. They're easier to spot. They're visible. Health hazards seem hidden. But safety risks are often easier to control. The probabilistic nature of safety risks means you can put controls in place that are absolute. You put a machine guard in place, it actually stops somebody hurting themselves. Health is deterministic. So basically, where exposure has to be quantified and minimised, it means the risks can't usually be eliminated. They have to just be controlled and minimised. Of course, safety has acute consequences due to the immediate nature of the harm. Health has chronic consequences that can become acute. And that's due to the latency effect, where disease develops quite a while after the initial exposure. There is good news, though. Sorry about all the litany of bad news, but there is good news. You see, health is now on the agenda. of both regulators and business. And there are lots of learnings that we can take from the way we manage risk with safety and apply it to health. We don't have to be scared of health, that it's some sort of scientific thing that's just for people in white coats. Actually, we can do it. Here's a quick overview of just some of the developments over the last decade, really. 2008, you got Dame Carol Black's report on working age population health, put the spotlight on well-being. 2014, there was something called the Health in Construction Leadership Group, which some of you might be aware of, was formed, and IOSH launched their No Time to Lose campaign on cancers. 2015, when I was at BOHS, we launched Breathe Freely, which is focused on controlling respiratory disease in the construction industry. In 2016, HSE also started to change publicly as well, with their Help When You Work Well strategy. Health was one of the top 6 priorities. I was actually at the launch where the minister of the day, it's changed again 3 times since then obviously, but launched the campaign and actually talked about health first, as if it was the most important thing. Now, he might have had a financial reason for that, and we'll go into that now, but that was amazing. Last year, HSE launched its Go Home Healthy campaign, focused on lungs, stress, and MSD. And then we've had the Stevenson Farmer report on mental health and work has also come out. And all of this presents an opportunity. So what I want to do in just this presentation is take a step back and look at health in a holistic, strategic manner. Because I'm sure you know, the temptation, as soon as you discover something new, the temptation is let's do some activity. Let's forget strategy and let's just dive in and do something. And what might appeal to you as a sector is take a step back and think about this before you do that. So, why? Why, from a business perspective, do we need to protect our workers' health? Quite aside from the moral case, there are actually some compelling business reasons. Firstly, I believe you've got an opportunity for direct cost saving. I don't know whether you heard that. An opportunity for direct cost saving on health. If you take a strategic approach to health protection, you can stop wasting money on unnecessary surveys and surveillance driven by your outsourced OH provider that are not part of a strategic risk management plan. Secondly, you know as well as I do, the workforce demographic is changing. We need workers to remain and work longer. Now, sorry guys if you're over 50, and ladies if you're over 50 like me, but as a chief medical officer once told me, as you get into your 50s, you start managing multiple chronic health conditions. It's just the way of life. Why on earth would we actively expose our workers in their earlier years to things that will make that worse when we need to keep them in work longer? Thirdly, as I've hinted at already, after many years of focus on safety enforcement, HSE's pendulum is now swinging. I know from their director in this that they have been for the last few years and are continuing to put lots of training effort now on health with their inspectors. And health is now a priority for their inspectors. So if they turn up at your site, you will get asked questions on health now. Fourthly, how could we expect to attract health-conscious, tech-savvy millennials who are concerned about well-being into an industry with really high health risks that fails to manage them? And finally, we trumpet the benefits of well-being in our CSR reports, and yet continue to fail to control exposures. Surely at some point someone's going to say, the king's got no clothes on. So, health is on the agenda, and there are compelling reasons to address it, but what do we actually mean by health and well-being? Well, according to the founding charter of the World Health Organization, health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Now, that may be a little idealistic, but WHO clearly sees health and well-being as part of the same picture. The classic understanding of health at work comes under the banner of occupational health. Think white coats, think doctors and nurses. This is the clinical area that's all about managing the health of workers as it is today. Things like fitness for work, health surveillance, that sort of stuff. The second dimension is well-being. This is all about promoting healthy lifestyle choices at work. And I know we're going to talk lots about that today, which is great. And obviously that brings benefits for the individual. Truth is, it also brings a lot of benefits for the employer. It's a win-win. Finally, the third dimension of health at work is something called occupational hygiene. Now, as soon as I say that hygiene word, there'll be some of you here that think food safety, hand washing, dentistry, toilet cleaning. We are not talking about that. We're talking about scientifically and engineering trained professionals who know how to stop you getting cancer, lung disease, skin disease, and losing your hearing. These are people whose job is prevention, not cure. And that what they prevent and control are the risks the workplace itself creates. These are the entirely man-made preventable risks. Now, for some time now, many organisations have fallen into the trap of basically medicalising all of health. So made it wholly clinical. Now with the rise of well-being, I think the danger is we will instead generalise all of workplace health to entirely lifestyle issues. And both of those have their place, don't get me wrong. Those circles overlap for a reason. Health is a multidisciplinary thing. It requires a team to work together in partnership. But if we only do clinical managing the health as it is, and we only do lifestyle issues, we are not controlling any of the exposures or preventing any of the risks that the workplace itself creates, which, by the way, as employers, we've all got a legal duty to manage. So let's look at that multidisciplinary aspect a little bit. Health promotion is about helping us make good health choices, and to be honest, the workplace is a great setting to do that, because it's a social setting, so you have peer pressure for the right things. It's good. Now, as Lawrence will tell you from his experience running health and safety at the Olympic Park project, wellbeing programs often provide a great lead-in to talk to workers about exposure risks. Hygiene then plays its part in risk prevention and control. And once that's done, health surveillance then has a role to warn us if the controls we've put in place are not working. And no offence to any nurses here, but I cannot emphasise enough that on its own, health surveillance protects no one from anything. We said earlier that we have a great opportunity to tackle workplace ill health. Now, as with all great opportunities, there's a danger which I've alluded to already. Just as with the advent of the Health and Safety at Work Act, when we focused on safety, not health, for decades, now with health on the agenda, it would be such a crying shame if we focused only on well-being and lifestyle issues and ignored exposures. We need all three parts to work together. So, let's take an example. Let's talk about mental health. I'm actually quite passionate about this as well. When someone experiences mental ill health, it obviously requires clinical management and support. Wellbeing programs also have a really clear place here to help highlight the issue in the first place, deal with stigma and encourage good choices of lifestyle that will benefit mental health. But if workplace issues are involved causing stress, I'm sorry, but no amount of mindfulness or antidepressants is going to sort it. This is where stress-related exposures have to be properly assessed and controlled. Now, of course, from a business perspective, this may well be the hardest part, because it's going to involve job adjustments, or management, or even culture changes. I've got personal experience of this. 5 years ago, my organisation, of which I was CEO, was doing really well, and I was doing a fantastic job. In fact, they doubled my salary. Thank you very much. We turned the business around from loss-making to double-digit surplus. We'd achieved a Royal Charter in less than 2 years, and we were having national impact, and the organisation was now optimistic and positive from basically being depressed when I first arrived. Yet there I was, one evening, after everyone else had left, head in hands, paralysed. I couldn't even get up and go to my car. I felt like I was wearing a lead jacket. My mind was in a fog, as the number of issues that I was trying to deal with simultaneously had exceeded my capacity to cope. My chest felt tight and my feelings were completely numb. I hadn't noticed it, bizarrely, but my sleep had been deteriorating for weeks. I was now on 2 hours a night. It never occurred to me that that wasn't normal. It was the beginning of a descent into a very dark place, and I've been telling myself just to keep going, work the issues, and you'll come through. But I didn't. I've always been an outgoing person. I love to socialise. If you're around later, I'd love to chat, find out about what you do, meet you, say hi, all that sort of stuff. But now I found myself as a person I didn't recognise. I was quiet, I was withdrawn, I was angry. When I was eventually signed off work, I slept solidly for 2 days. Basically didn't remember much of what had happened in the last week. Now there's a lot more I could tell you about that time and how I recovered. Suffice to say, without the support of my wife and family, my faith, my friends, my board, my colleagues at work, a great GP and a brilliant psychologist, I can't see how I would have made it. But I did, and here we are today. I think the most important thing I learned is that depression is not the end. Since that time when it happened, as an organisation, we went on to achieve loads more under another 4 years of my leadership, and I'm really proud of the legacy I left BOHS with. As part of my coaching and consultancy work with senior leaders, I've taken that learning from that experience and applied it to produce a suite of practical tools called Lead Yourself Better, which simply focuses on self-leadership, something that I basically neglected. See, many organisations are making great strides in bringing mental health issues to the fore and providing support for their workers. That's great, but what happens with your senior managers, who are often under the greatest occupational stress? My question to you is, does the conversation at senior team or board level ever get that real? I'll try. Back to the bigger health picture. The broad nature of health hazards and the seemingly complex language that comes with them means it can feel overwhelming. You know, paperwork, clinical stuff, what does all that mean? Well, admitting that we find it overwhelming is a first step to finding a solution. I remember 3 years ago speaking at an event down at Excel to a couple of hundred directors and senior managers in health and safety, and we had group tables, went back to the group tables, and they said, now talk about what you've heard and what your reactions are to it. And people were chatting on our table, and there was a guy sitting opposite me. It's like, actually, I hope he's not here today. But he was a SHEC director in a very large construction engineering organisation, and he was going a bit red while the discussion was going on, so he was a bit agitated. And then he looked at me and started pointing at me, and he said, so are you saying that after all the work we've done on safety, in procedures, systems, equipment, training and culture, we've now got to do something on health like that? So I paused. I said, yeah. What else were you thinking of doing? See, the good news is there's loads of great learning on risk management that we can take from safety and bring over into the health arena. Now, if we're going to take a step up and lead on this, it's going to have to involve transformation. I'm sure you're familiar with the cultural maturity models. I just pinched this from your plan, Mark, the old one in there, that try to take us from, you know, sort of low down in cultural maturity to excellence or generative or whatever it is. Each stage of that journey requires improvements in engagement, involvement, trust and accountability. See, what I'm trying to say is a sticking plaster approach won't do on health. If we're talking safety culture transformation now, and I said to you, my entire organisation strategy consists of training first aiders. That's it. You'd look at me aghast. You'd say, what about people? What about culture? What about engagement and leadership? You know, so I would say to you, well, we need the same approach in physical and mental health now. We need to be strategic. You say to me, yeah, we deal with exposures. We've got gloves and masks. Great, we're relying on the last line of control in the hierarchy of controls. Or on mental health, we provide mental health first aiders and we encourage people to talk. Great, that's just mental health PPE. There's more to it than that.
Steve,
Yep.
I could listen to you all day.
Approximately 30 seconds.
Okay.
Could you sum up with your final message?
Yeah, sure, all right, Tim. That's strategy. That's a case study. Ask me about it. Be a year doing it properly. I'll tell you Danny Martin's story. If you want to lead, you've got to be a dealer in hope. That's got to mean that you believe you can create a better world and that you can take people with you to do it. So how do you react when you hear all of this? Are you sceptical? I don't really see the exposures. It can't be really 13,000 a year, can it? Surely it's just granddad's disease. Or are you like the SHEC director who put his head in his hands? That's what he did, by the way, after he vented at me and I told him he just went like that. Because he's overwhelmed. Or maybe you are more calculating, privately, of course, and thinking, well, they won't die on our books and we'll still look good if we just do the cheap short-term stuff. Or are you ready to investigate it further? You know things are not good in your organisation when it comes to prevention and you're prepared to roll up your sleeves and engage with the problem to make a difference. Now, I'm happy to chat with you further on whatever reaction you've had, but I tell you, if it's that last one, I really want to talk to you today. So that's it. There's some free links to all the free resources that are out there. I'm sure they'll make the slides available later. And that's me. You'll find me on LinkedIn, Twitter and blog. Thank you very much for your time.